Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to knit 2 sleeves at a time. The first thing that you're going to need is a very long cable. If you don't have one, you can use an interchangeable set with a connector and put 2 long ones together, as I did. Even if you have a fixed needle that's like 50 inches or so, even if you don't have a really long one, you can keep adjusting your cable. It's just a lot easier if you have a really long one, so you don't have to keep resituating your stitches. So you're going to separate your yarn into 2 skeins. So since I am working with fingering and mohair, I have decided to put my mohair and my fingering together. I wound them as one skein because I did not have to want to worry about 4 balls while I was trying to film this. Here's my sweater. I have not finished the body yet, so there is a string here that you will have to ignore. As you see, my stitches for my sleeves are on scrap yarn. So what you're going to want to do is you will put your sweater flat, and then you will take one side. I usually go with the left because that's easier for me. The important thing to note is that your underarm of your sweater has got to be on the same side. So if you look here, they're both on the right hand side. I'm just going to explain first before I start doing anything. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to go down all of these stitches here on this side. You're going to do half of them, and then all the ones on this side, and then turn it around and go down the opposite side so that your needles are both sticking out of the stitches like this. And for now, I'm going to leave the scrap yarn in here because if I make a mistake, I want to be able to just pull my needles out and not worry that I'm going to lose any stitches or anything like that. For this particular pattern, I have 62 stitches for one sleeve. So that means right now I'm going to pick up 31 stitches, and I will meet back with you after I get this first sleeve. All right, so I have 31 stitches picked up on this half of the sleeve, and I am going to move on to this other sleeve here and pick up 31 stitches along this side. It's really important to make sure you only pick up half of the stitches. And again, I'm going to leave my scrap yarn in there because I do not want to mess something up and lose my stitches and regret that I took this out, because everybody makes mistakes. Let's be real. I will meet you back after I get these 31 stitches picked up. All right, so now I have all of my 31 stitches for this side picked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my sweater around so that the other half of these stitches are facing me, and I'm going to pull my needle all the way down so that it's just about out, but you don't want to lose any stitches. What this is going to do is going to leave a loop of cable on this side, and we'll begin picking them up where we left off on this sleeve over here. And just to explain the stitch marker that is part of this particular pattern that I'm doing, since there's a fancy cabling all along the tops of the sleeves, I have to have that stitch marker there. Normally you would not have a stitch marker on Magic Loop. At the beginning of the round, I do keep either a progress keeper pinned onto it so I can tell which side's the front, which sleeve is which. So we have those done, and we're going to go over here to the next one and again do the same thing, picking up those stitches. And we're not technically knitting them yet, we're just picking them up onto our needle to make it easier to knit the next round, because in my opinion it is very difficult to try to pick them up when you have the scrap yarn and the underarm stitches to pick up. I just find it's easier to put the stitches on your needle first and then begin that process. So hey, all right, we did it. We have them all picked up on our cable. We've got the needles both on the same exact side. We have a big old loop on the side. Now what we'll do is we're going to turn our work back around so that our needles are on the right, and we are back on the side where we originally started picking up stitches. At this point, you can take your scrap yarn out of the stitches. Got them all. The underarms are both facing the right side. You know you did not make any mistakes. So what I do is I hold on to these needles for dear life so that I don't lose any stitches. and I just pull the yarn. There you go. See, they're all there. And I do that with the same thing with the other side. Still hold on to those because I don't want to lose anything from the other sleeve. And I just hold right here and pull the scrap yarn. It's a little more tricky with this one, but you can do it. Now what we're going to do is the needle that's closest to us, we are going to push it down because we're going to be knitting from this side first. And we're going to pull this one out so that we can use it to knit with. That's why we want the really long cable, because we still have this loop down here. If we were using a shorter cable, it would be a smaller loop and we would have to continue to split these stitches every single time, which is doable, but a pain in the butt. You're going to want to pick up half of your stitches. You don't want to pick them all up at once. You're going to start in the middle and then pick up and then start knitting. Because when we come around on the other side, that's when you're going to pick up the second half of those stitches. For my pattern, I am to pick up 8 stitches total and 1 extra in the underarm to help close the gap. That is 10 stitches total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 5 stitches along this edge. So we have our stitches completely picked up. Now all we're going to do is just knit. Then you will stop because you have finished this side of this sleeve. So you will not continue working out of this ball. You will set it onto the side and you will get your new ball, and you will again do the same thing, picking up the stitches along the edge, push this needle down because you're going to start knitting at this point, and you will pull your cable out a little bit. Come over here. And we'll pick up 5 stitches along here and again start knitting down this side. All right, so I've got 5 stitches picked up here, and now I'm just going to start knitting on the sleeve. All right, so now that I've got to the end of my row, I am going to turn my entire sweater around. And when you do this, you're going to want to grab the balls and just move one to the other side. So with the one that was on the left side, you're going to move to the right, and you're going to move the right one to the left. That way the strands do not tangle. You're going to do the same thing that you did before. You're going to push your needle all the way down because that's where you're going to start working, is here. And then pull that one out a little bit so that you can work with it. And you can see automatically this is the yarn that we're going to be working with because that's the one that's sitting right next to our sleeve. Then when you get to the end of this row here, you're going to push your needle all the way to the tip here. Pull your cable out so that you can pull this needle over so that you can work with this one. And you'll see, oh, I'm using this new ball of yarn here. So you'll do the same thing and you'll knit down this side. Another important thing I need to point out is anytime you turn your work, you're going to want to knit the first 2 stitches by holding your cables very close together and keep them a little bit snug, because if you do not, you will start getting a ladder along this edge here. But that's all you have to do to work 2 sleeve stitches at the same time. Work down one side and then down the other side, and it's super, super easy. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below, or you can message me on Instagram. Either way, hopefully this helps somebody and makes sense. If not, feel free to ask me anything. Bye.